What up, metalheads? Welcome back to the Table of Metal. How are you metal knights doing? Take a seat and let's discuss the third Death album, Spiritual Healing. The first Death album to go through some drastic changes. Example, they've been doing thrash stuff lately. Now they're
Getting more into metal.
they're, they're getting more into death metal. They're starting to go lower in the tempo, slow things down. They're also really focusing on groove. I noticed that's really present in this. Real groove, a lot of kind of a blues element in there because of the blues, or of the groove. Just to me, it sounds real bluesy. What's another thing? The lyrics have strayed away from gore and horror, and now they're more philosophical and thought-provoking. What's the other thing? His vocal style is more growly, more guttural, more traditional to death metal. This whole album is just kind of traditional death metal stuff that we're kind of used to with, let's say, Entombed, maybe Bolt Thrower, that kind of stuff. But yeah, thoughts on the album cover, Isaac? Because I really like this album cover. This is my favorite artwork.
It is my favorite too, and it makes a lot of sense to the album. It makes a lot of sense to how the album describes everything. It makes a lot of sense to... it just is very metal.
Yeah, yeah. I guess this is a very metal painting. I really like the blue in it, and the whole how he's like slapping the healing into this diseased character. But anyways, Spiritual Healing. Let's dive right into it. Track 1. This is actually a lot of people's favorites. Living Monstrosity. I don't want to get too much into this one. It's just a different kind of death album. But yeah. Anyways, Altering the Future. So that song is about abortion and about how killing the life of a person can drastically change the future. Say that person that just died could have been the next great world leader, brought the world in great ways, or the next terrible leader and brought the world in terrible ways. Either way, you're altering the future by destroying that person. So it's essentially what that song is about. Then we have track 3, Defensive Personalities, which is about the weak points of the mind to other people. And the way they defend that is by creating different personality types to defend that weak point.
So the personality types don't have that weak point, I guess.
So what?
So the other personality types don't have that weak point.
Yeah, well, kind of, yeah. So
that makes no sense.
It doesn't make sense. That's what he's trying to say here. That doesn't really make sense that we do that as humans, but it's something that we do. If we're weak at a certain point in our personality, if we have a weak point, we don't want to appear weak. So our mind creates a different personality to, I guess, present that part of their body. If that made any sense. But that's what, just you'll have to hear it to know.
Hey, are you scared of spiders? No, I'm not scared of spiders.
Yeah, okay, yeah, like, yeah, are you scared of spiders? No. No, I'm the guy that's not scared of spiders.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what this song is talking about. Then we go to track 4, and this is where I kind of want to have you guys get a little taste of the album, because this is where, what I think is that at this point of the album, in the middle part, is where the album really starts to develop and really get character. So track 4, Within the Mind, it gets real groovy. It's got like a groove to it. It sounds weird saying groovy for metal, but it's true. It does have a groove to it. It does slow things down. Just take a listen to the introduction here. Go ahead, cue it, Angel.
That's good. You're good.
All right. So as you could tell, that it had more of a groove. It had more of a beat. They slowed down there. They strayed away from the speed, and they were really kind of getting into a slow territory. Groove, rhythm, beat. That's really what they're doing here.
Sound like a heavy doom metal.
Yeah, it's almost doomy actually. That's funny, but it's death metal.
Yeah.
It's basically doom metal in a death metal skin is really what this album is. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, there it is for you. The whole album was starting to sound like this. Anyways, the lyrics are what I think are the most interesting on this track, Within the Mind. It's about dreams and how they're made up of our subconscious mind. They produce images. He says, see past the dark and use your energy. Learn from these images, thoughts that we call dreams. That's what he says. I think it's really interesting. He's just talking about how he's really illustrating dreams in a different way and how you can interpret them to learn more about yourself. He also says later on, gain a better perspective of your life. What else did he say? Yeah, anyways, he's just talking about how it's psychological, and you can really learn about yourself by dissecting your dreams. Yeah, those lyrics are so interesting. It actually got me to look up dreams. I actually started doing research on dreams just from listening to that song. I mean, like, these guys are my metal professors. Chuck, he's so great.
Seems pretty.
Then we got awesome. The epic of the album, track number 5, Spiritual Healing. So, what was I going to say? I forgot. Anyways.
You'll hear something. I'm going to talk about it after, but you'll hear something that I'm going to...
Yeah, get in... Well, okay, no. First off, this album has a lot of different parts and pieces. It's got the beginning part, it's got this other little part, then it has like a pre-chorus, then it has this part that is the chorus, and then it does exactly what it did coming up, but coming down. So like this.
Yeah.
If that made sense. It's a very symmetrical... it's a very symmetrical... what am I trying to say here? Pattern, song structure. So the pattern's really interesting here. The chorus isn't even long. It's just one epic moment of the whole album. It's actually almost iconic to me, at least. But yeah, go ahead and take a listen to this part here. We'll dissect it when we're done after you hear the sample. So Isaac, do you mind cueing the angel?
All right, you're good. Let's do this.
Alright, cut it. So, there it is for you. That real groove part, that whole practice what you preach. Your loved one is now deceased. Knowledge is at our hands, never to understand. He's clearly talking about religion and how people use it to heal and get money for it and fame, and what they're really doing is nothing. You can really see his perspective on religion here. But yeah, as you could tell, that was really beat driven. You had a cowbell. I really liked the cowbell. Cowbells are actually really metal.
So,
what were you saying earlier? You said something earlier when I was talking about song structure.
Yeah. So, the vocals, they were like in our last video of Leprosy, we said that they was very raspy and raw.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But this one, it's not. It's actually kind of the opposite of raspy and raw. It's it just like
very controlled.
They took it down, smashed it down, and then polished it.
Yeah. They got that raw vocal metal from Leprosy, and in this album they said, you know what? Let's turn this into something. Let's polish it. They polished it up. They pounded it into something. So what we're trying to say here is that on this album you have Chuck's vocals very clean, very polished, or not clean as in clean vocals, but I mean production-wise. They're clean. The volume is actually turned up on his vocals over other instruments, so the vocals are the leading point of the album here, which is really interesting because it's kind of something you don't do in metal music. You let the instruments lead.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's what's going on with the vocals here. Very clean, very polished, very the volume is up. They're leading and taking the songs. I know that's controversial. A lot of people don't like this album because of that. I personally don't mind it. I actually hate it when other albums do this, but it works really good on this album. I know it's kind of like a big law that you break in metal. But I really do like that the vocals are leading in this album. I usually don't like it when metal does that, but on this album it works. What do you think of it, Isaac?
It actually does work very well because they have everything perfectly timed. It's not the vocals say something, that's the cue for the instruments to start doing their thing. No, the instruments know when they're doing their thing. Chuck knows when he's singing, when he's growling, when he's doing his thing, so that makes everything come into play at the same time, makes it come in sync, and yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, he essentially what he's saying is that everything just works together, really well. There's no queuing. It's more just there. Everyone knows what they're doing, and they're doing their thing on beat and on time. Another thing I wanted to show you. This is one of my favorite moments off of the album, and well, no, it's not his. His is later. But I want to show you something. This tapping technique that Chuck is doing on the guitar for the chorus, and while he does this iconic yell, just check it out here. It's pretty cool. All right, cut it.
A little late on that, but we'll work on that.
Yeah, we'll work on that. But anyways, there was that. I really enjoyed that. As you can tell, the whole album, it really has this. It's slower tempo. It's really beat driven. It's just you know, you're starting to see it develop here. We're gonna get into the next song, "Low Life," which is about. It's kind of like about
My
the
favorite
same
song.
stuff. That's his favorite song, yes, and we'll show you why. He does a really good scream here, and he also does a really. It has one of my favorite guitar riffs of this whole album, where it sounds really doomy. Here, actually, just take a listen here. All right. So as you can tell, that scream was that's something. That's something else. That's very much something else. You don't really hear that a lot.
To be completely honest, the angel looks scary.
Yeah, the angel looked scary when he did do that.
Yeah.
There's no way he couldn't have played that and not looked awesome. Wish you guys could see how he looked when he played that. Anyways, there it is for you. Another thing I wanted to show you about Low Life. This is where the blues starts to kick in, at least to me. I really hear blues in this intro. Check this out.
I was feeling that.
I know, I was feeling that too. I didn't want to end it. But, see, you know, that's the thing. You could really feel that. There's a groove. You could kind of move your shoulders to it. The tempo was slow. It's really the core of this album. I enjoy it. I liked it. It's not really like headbang crazy. It's more so like, you know, you just feel it. Then we get into genetic reconstruction, and that's about
Genetic reconstruction.
it's about genetic reconstruction. It's about his kind of prediction on where we're going and how we're gonna extend our lives unnaturally and all that kind of stuff, become eventual cyborgs and all that.
Which actually is kind of what we're doing, but
Then we have Killing Spree, which is about Hitler. But yeah, there it is in a nutshell. Spiritual Healing by Death. Isaac, what are your final thoughts on this album?
final thoughts are, it's a really good album.
It's a very good
It's
album.
very good, but I don't like how it's different from every other album. How it's just the only album that is smashed down, polished, served. I like how every album is very raw, and it's very raw, but
That's something. Yeah, that is true. That's something that's sacrificed on this album. You don't get that raw metal that Death usually gives. They're giving it kind of a clean, polished, produced, almost like they went commercialized, except they didn't, and it doesn't sound commercialized. But in terms of how clean it is, but you know, I personally really like this album. This is my second favorite Death album. It's the album that got me into Death, really, that really got me to understand death metal. So I really like this album. I'm giving this a 4.
slaps
I'm
in the
giving
face.
this 4 heavy metal guitars and 1 guitar with 1 string missing. So it's almost perfect. This is almost a 5 out of 5. This is just shy. And the reason why is because I don't like the last song. Other than that, every other song on here is really good. Every moment on this album is great. I like it a lot. So Isaac, what would you rate this?
I would That's a very tough question. I'm deciding between a 3.5 and a 4. Probably 3.5. I know 4. I'll give it a 4. Yeah.
He's gonna give it a 4. So there's 4 for me. It's 5. Like if I were to show you with fingers, it would be 5 with a fingernail missing. It's just it's really legendary to me.
Let's still be 5. Because fingers.
but it's almost okay. 5 with like the thumb chopped off like halfway. So so it's not 5.5. It's literally like it's almost a 5. It's that close to being a 5. 99% out of 100. Anyways, there it is. Do we recommend this? Now I recommend this to anyone who wants to get into death metal. This is a really good death metal starter.
Yeah, I recommend it for people who are just coming in from stuff like Iron Maiden, or Striper or Slayer, where they're coming, or Anthrax actually, because where they're coming from clean vocals and
a little cleaner playing.
Yeah, a little cleaner.
Yeah. This is basically that. Like we said, it's doom metal skinned as death metal, or heavy metal with death metal makeover done to it. But yeah, there it is. Spiritual Healing. Let us know what you think about this album down below in the comments. Subscribe. But yeah, thank you guys for visiting. Stay tuned for the next episode. What's the next album after this? Human.